When you're a writer, you always like to travel to discover new things, new people, to learn about their culture, their way of life. So 2 years ago, I took my family to Charleston, South Carolina for a weekend getaway. I have to say I love going to Charleston, not only for its southern charms, its literature, but also for the history of its troubled past, history of slavery, and all forms of inequalities that persist in its contemporary history. I live in North Florida, and one thing I like the most living here in North Florida is the fact that all, if not most, southern cities are within reach. So going to Charleston is only about 2.5 hour drive. So a few hours later, we were in Charleston.
That this is the introduction bit.
Yes, that's the intro
so
right
you'll
here.
just talk over this.
Yes, this is the intro right here.
And you talk about Charleston. Yeah.
Yes. The Southern charm. Oh, yes. Yes. You really need million shape game.
Oh yes, $1 million.
Not just 1 million, I think multiple millions.
Oh my, look at that one.
Did you get that?
Look at that one.
Churchill the Batty.
No, mommy, that one, the brick one.
Yeah, this one.
Oh my gosh. I can't afford that.
You need multiple million.
Okay, why would people live here? Seriously, just move to Miami, you know?
No,
or like
I mean,
Tampa or Charlotte.
when you live here, you really enjoy life.
You know, you just like the country and
I can understand back in the old time when café caille comme ça parce que when the breeze of the ocean. So il fait qu'elle a pas de gain conditionnel là ça le fait. Il est frais, vous comprenez?
Yeah.
Il fait bien warm.
Yeah, yeah. Tout capable chita dans balcon bien regarder when you're sur mettre chaise d'audigne.
After checking out our hotel, we hit the streets. Of course, we headed where everyone who goes to Charleston would love to be. It's a historical downtown. Our first stop was the waterfront neighborhood. Here, it's stunning. The homes are humongous. We can understand why, and also the colonial charms also shades a picturesque landscape. Very interesting to be in that part of the town. Then we drove toward downtown. I like it here because it reminds me of the historic district of St. Augustine. Although Charleston is a much bigger city. Here you find a mixture of traditional retail stores and high-end stores. My wife, who loved to shop in high-end stores, headed toward Gucci. Then we walked out because the prices were exaggerated.
It's completely unacceptable. You know, you have to pay what, $600 for that Gucci hat and $3,000 for that Gucci purse. You know, this is for the rich and famous. To keep all African Americans away. We just witnessed, you know, such a shocking reality. There were African Americans 5 years ago owning that pretty much half of the market street. Now, they're just few and far between. And when I spoke to folks, they're all telling the same story. They've been pushed out to gentrification. Taxes go high, they cannot afford it. In other words, they don't just come to tell you to leave, but you have no choice but to leave. You have no choice but to leave. And that's a very sad situation. This is the new reality of Charleston, South Carolina.
Then after that, we're hungry and we went to a local seafood restaurant.
So what's the difference between Charleston and St. Augustine?
We have to put both of them in their own historical perspective. The difference between the two is Charleston is a bigger city. St. Augustine is a historical small town. But the similarities between the two cities, as you could see, the colonial houses, and of course the buggies, and the shops and boutiques and restaurants. You're going to be visiting the open markets and there's just blocks away. And now we are inside a very nice seafood restaurant. So right
think the difference between the two cities, honestly, one is bigger than the other. But like I said last week, we visited St. Augustine. This is a city that is also expanding in expansion. So, and of course, we can always say that Charleston has its own local flavor. It gives you a sense that you're much more in a deeper in the South than if you were in St. Augustine. Of course, because St. Augustine is Florida, mixture, the blend of cultures from South to Central and to North. This is the first coast of Florida. But right here in Charleston, it goes all the way back to 1800. All right?
After we ate, we headed toward the historical market complex called Market Street, completely different from what it was a few years ago when we were there. The next day we went to Magnolia Plantation, considered to be one of the oldest plantations in the South.
So we here at the National Magnolia and Garden in North Charleston. This is a wonderful place, and there's different attractions that you can visit. I believe there's a zoo out there. There's a boat ride, and it's a plantation, and also the slave houses that you can see too. So this is extremely important. You can see all those people, tourists and locals. And let me ask you questions.
Can you open your feathers for us?
Just before we headed home, my son and I met an old man named Herman Washington. He was cordial. Here is what he told us about his city.
So how long have you been living here? How long have you been living here? Me? Uh-huh. I've been here for 40 years. 40 years, okay. Originally from Charleston? You were born here?
I've been in Charleston. I've been 16 years old.
Since you were 16 years old. And you were born where? It's on the way to Columbia?
Yeah, one way to Columbia.
Columbia, okay.
Ironburg.
Okay.
Ironburg was the next big city to Columbia.
Okay. So you periodically you go back to visit, you know, from time to time, so you go back to visit relatives?
Yeah.
You know, it just so striking. There were so many interesting good crafts we find from African Americans.
Yeah, man, this city was more African American.
Yeah.
That's the Spring Street. That's the street going down to the Ashley River.
But it's a culture that should never, because what makes actually the beauty of Charleston, the historical part of Charleston, it's also the history of, so, you know, what happened some about 100 years ago.
100 years ago.
Make a big change here. There is. Now, if you've been here for years and buy a piece of property, you can hold on to it. You can live it. Buy it.
It's about
This house right next door here,
uh,
the house done sell. In the last 4 years, the house done sell 3 times.
really?
And that house, that fella in that house 9 years.
$900,000?
Jesus.
Really?
Almost $1 million.
So you tell me, if you can buy a house for $900,000, that's when your taxes is been quite high.
Look at that lady by that car that right there for the year. She was $650,000.
That's right. So you can imagine your house also can be
man and a half.
Exactly.
Get off of your thumb, too, how to move out. With that money to move out.
And now I can see why average folks cannot live here.
They can't live here. Not unless you've been here a long time and you got the house paid for.
Ah.
The tax and the insurance is tremendous. Then you got to keep it up. You got to work on it.
Yeah. Keep the lawn very nice.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm so fortunate that you talk to me because you don't know who I am and this is my son.
So it was fun to be in Charleston again. I'd love to go back. And we will, certainly.
Walking to
Yeah,
still.
là, définir ça, t'es la pluie.
Tu la pluie, il va te faire chaleur.
Et puis nous t'es si comme notre travail en bas, tirer les nous petits nègres là,
Oui.
les petits nègres là à chercher. Oh, c'est ça, Michel.
Look at that. Look at that.
Vous
Look
dit
at
ça, j'aurais
that.
aimé ça, hein?
Yeah, I'm gonna go on camera.
Ça n'est pas la mer là, non? C'est la mer ou bien son pied? Ah,
Hein?
c'est la mer ou bien son pied?
La mer Charleston.